So the aim is to just do some final little touches to kind of finish off the detail work, and then we can get on to some of the texturing. So today I'm going to do a few things. The first thing I want to do is kind of work on this base with this bit of a highlight that I've got. So I've got some AK dark green, and the aim is to kind of do a bit of a middle channel that's darker than all the fluoro stuff. So it doesn't have to be solid and can be a bit patchy in that, just kind of adding a little bit more of a flow into the middle part of the channel. Turns it into more like a deep, like gives it a bit of depth, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Doesn't need much. Not. For those of you that follow 3D printing news, I see the Bamboo Labs new 3D printer, the H2D I think it's called. Well, it's Australian time, it's been announced tomorrow, I think, the final details of it, but by this time you see this video it may have just been announced or be the day after it's been announced, but obviously we're going to be interested to see what they've been working on and what's happening there. How much it costs as well, of course. Doubt I'll be putting in a day one order, but it's one of those things that you can always be tempted by the new stuff. I've often thought, even though I ended up not going with the AMS option for my A1, I've often thought that being able to print with two colours and do your support in one and do your model in the other would make support removal a lot easier. So something like a dual head where there's not the waste. I mean, waste is the primary reason why I didn't go for an AMS, because there's just so much filament wasted. But, so now that all the Mimic presents and the Kookaburra presents are completed and have been done and given, I can get back to working on my troll. And so the aim for today is to do a few washes and dry brushes So I've pretty much done all the detail painting. I'd finished the detail, like 99% of it, before I stopped and moved on to the presents. It's looking pretty good for the wash. So now it's just the finishing sort of touches really. So the aim for today is to work on the skulls first. And I kind of want to give them a bloody red outlook is the idea. At least first. I may give them a bit of messier outlook as well, but starting off with a light red wash. So it's giving the skulls more of a pinkish red look rather than just plain white. And the reason why I'm using such a small brush is just so I can control where the wash goes better. Typically you'd use a bigger brush, but with these skulls there's so much cloth and cloth and skin around them that I just want a little bit more control than that. And it is one of those kind of less is more type deals and situations where you want to have some there, but you don't want to overdo it. So I keep going back to areas where the colour has pooled, and you can kind of, as much as you can paint it with the brush, when the brush is dried a bit, you can also pick it up. So I was never going to leave these skulls as just like plain white. I don't think that would work. And I'm certainly not going to leave them with this bright red. So I'll put a brown or a black or something on once this is dried to tone it down, because it's too bright now. It's gone from too white to too bright. But red is definitely the colour that I was looking for. Being a wash, it's not like paint where it dries on and that's that. It can kind of rub off. You have to be a bit careful when you do subsequent washes, because yeah, you can definitely take this off. Nice to be getting back onto the troll and working on finishing them off. Won't take long. I have a bad habit of starting projects and then putting them aside and starting something else, and that's the new project, and you work on that, and then it gets all the attention. You don't finish what you meant to finish. So I definitely didn't want that to happen here. It was always the case that once I'd gotten the presents completed and out of the way, I'm coming back to finish this model off before I start anything else. And the same goes, I've got a couple of barbarian female warriors riding black bears that they're nowhere near as finished as this model is. Like, they've still got detail painting to go, but the plan is going to be to transition to detail painting them before I print anything new, because I got so many cool models from about 4 or 5 different well, they don't call them Kickstarter on they call them Frontiers on MyMiniFactory, but I've got 4 or 5 Frontiers that I've purchased. It's the same idea as Kickstarter though. In fact, I think they even kind of lead into the Kickstarter program, but yeah, you spend your money to back a project, and rather than just getting 1 or 2 models, STLs I call them, because that's the format that I download and use. Yeah, you back a project, and that project will have 50 or 100 or a couple of hundred different models, just depending on the project. And then out of them you'll find your models that you want to print and paint. So I have, as I say, several, 4 or 5 different frontiers that I have funded, and I've got lots of models, cool models to print out that I would like to work on, but I really want to finish what I've started first before I go any further with that stuff. Okay. Paint's on quite red, the wash, but it seems to be drying quite pink, which is fine. I might even try like a really dark red wash to darken it, deepen it. Of course I have to do the detailing on the rest of the model as well, but I kind of wanted to do the skulls first. Because the other material will just get like a dark wash, like dirt and mud and grime sort of stuff. So I don't mind that getting on the skulls, because they're on his body. They would also get the dirt and mud and grime. But you're not going to get the blood on the clothing. Like, I mean, it's a drop. It can get blood on its clothing, but I mean for the wash of the skulls. That's not what I want. A dry brushing will work quite well on the cloth that he has, but I don't think it'll work very well on the skin because the cloth has so much surface, and dry brushing picks up surface texture and highlights it. So, you know, I like that technique. It works very, very well. But the thing that dry brushing doesn't work well is when there isn't a lot of surface texture to highlight, and that's the case with the skin. There's a lot of smooth areas. If anything, it would just kind of highlight things you don't want to highlight, like filament printing lines and things like that. So probably going to have to do a wash on the skin. I don't think a dry brush will work. Whereas I was happy to do a wash with the skulls for a completely different reason. It wasn't about the texture, it was just about containing. Because if I tried to dry brush that, whatever paint I was going to use, it would just go everywhere behind it, and I'd basically need to re-detail paint it. So anyway, that's the first wash on the skulls. It is crimson red, and it looks red, but it is kind of all washed in a pinky sort of red colour. So when I come back, once that's dried enough, I'll be doing a very dark red. This is all going to record properly today. I've had a lot of trouble with my software. Meld Studio is the name of it, and it's usually great software. I recommend it, but my poor old MacBook has been struggling a bit. Kept on crashing and wouldn't load. So anyway, I reinstalled it and it didn't fix it, so then I completely removed it, downloaded a fresh version of it, and yeah, finally seems to be working. So I hope it keeps going. So this is some AK burnt red, so a much darker reddy brown than the pink stuff that we were using before. I'm just going to use some light strokes like a dry brush style, except with a much smaller brush, just to add some detail to and some depth to the models. Just not so much painting as highlighting. And this, once again, will not be the final color on them. This is more just preparing. Okay. So it's really annoying. It just wouldn't load for me at all. It just kept crashing on startup, crash on startup, so I couldn't get it to load. Ah, the joys of computers. That is exactly the effect that I'm looking for. These are people that have had bloody ends. Yeah. And definitely tones down the pink aspect as well. Alright. That gives you an idea of where it's going. Definitely white skulls no longer. Yes, that makes such a difference. So just using the paper towel, and I mean the paint's pretty much gone now. I just keep going back there to just get little bits. So it is more of a dry brush technique than actual like dipping into a paint and painting the model, because you're just getting little bits of remnants of the colour come up on highlights. And once again, I usually dry brush with much larger, more cosmetic style brushes than these actual painting brushes. The only reason why I'm doing this today is because it's such a small area, and if I was to use one, even the smallest of my cosmetic brushes, my dry brushing brushes, it would just go all over the other material, which is not what I want, not for the blood. Pretty soon I'll be doing the cloth washes and the skin, and that can go over everything pretty much, so that's fine. But for this I just wanted a little bit more control. Alrighty, well that is the second dry brushing of the skulls, adding some deeper red.